So if you look at the two graphs over here, the disasters throughout the globe, there is very good amount that is related to hydrological and meteorological. So what does it mean? It means that water-related disasters have been and will be the main causes of disasters throughout the world. And then on the second over here, we break out by classification. We see that the floods and drought are the two more popular ones for urban flood, for natural disasters. However, regardless, the gentleman over here still showing small. So what does it mean? So disaster will happen, we need to deal with it over a period. So this is Thailand, by the way, during the 2011 flood. So to wrap up, climate change impacts will very likely to intensify the risk. With urban impacts, usually we will have an intensified urbanization, that more people will move from the rural to the urban areas. So as a consequence, we need more HDBs, we need more condos, we need more pavements. And as a result, we see on the diagrams over here, the catchments will become less pervious. So with the same amount of rainfall, you will have more runoff. And then climate change will increase the amount of precipitation. So you have more rainfall, you have less infiltration, you have more runoff. And it is a increase of flood risk. So there should be a change of paradigm shift, which I'm here to share with you. Is the conventional is how we can design a system to handle the given rainfall or the windstorm, and this has been called a return period conventional engineering approach. But there is an emerging way of doing things. On the left side, how are we rethinking the problem? So the problem is not new, but how can we rethink it in a more nature-based or more sustainable way? So think about how we can convert our catchment into the pre-development condition. Why not compromising too much on the livability and the ability of an urban area to accommodation the ever increasing population? So that is where the concept of nature-based solutions come about. So in general, instead of redesign a great infrastructure to decrease the pipe size, whatever, you can try to increase the infiltration capacity so that with the same amount of rainfall, you will have less runoff. And along the way, you will have multiple benefits to explore, including ecological services, recreation, when you have something really nice like Shanamo Park or ADU to hang around, where at the same time can also provide hydrological benefits. So that is the need of the paradigm shift. So the key point is human society will have been the victims of climate change, but we are also a part of the problem. So why do we think about become a part of the solutions through a nature-based solutions? So showing on the right side here are some of the solutions or measures that as a Singapore resident, I think we have come from quality. So we have hydrogen cell, rain gathering, opposite one of energy and public skywalk, etc. So all of these are type of nature-based solutions, particularly for thank you. Okay, so yeah, as we are in Singapore, I would like to broadly mention the ABC water projects with Yunnan Garden, right? Then we have anti-depressant with the Affinity Biotop. And seeing here, we should mention India as well, our very nice neighbor of the other side of the island, the school design garden. And yeah, it's all of these can be seen as a nature-based solutions. But at the particular moment, I would encourage everyone to understand nature solutions in the context of urban water management, because they are more to it. So at the point, please do it with us. And thank you to your colleague here. There are some, Malaysia. Yeah, so in Malaysia, we also have a couple of projects that can represent the NBS in university since Malaysia and in Thailand, but to a lesser extent. That we start to have two floors, actually, a couple of NBS or water management, including the point Overcom, so very important part. I think Alina been here during the visit in June, I suppose. And this is another one that we part into university. So at this point, whenever you see a green space that theoretically have some benefits to the hydrological, you think, those are the NBS. And because they can absorb water, etc. So let's keep that notion for now. Now let's do a review. So the motivation of the review is I want to know what is happening or what have been done up to this point about nature-based solutions. And the scope of my review is only for urban water management. So that's the scope of the review. So this is very interesting map showing the north and the south division. Obviously, there are no geographically reference because we have Australia, it was correct, and then it was more country on the Africa of some also there. So anybody knows here how the line fall out is about economic development? Is it? Okay, let's keep it for the moment, and then we will come to answer who is actually dividing us this way. Okay, so with this is the scope of my review that I only focus on the areas that is in the global south, which is the three countries. So even though Australia is there, I just exclude them. Then the problem is I was able to actually identify more than 100 papers, but in that review was 20 papers. That number of countries is 7, and have a good coverage of continents, include Asia, Africa, and South America. So what I found to be quite interesting is the terms that they use include nature-based solutions, ecosystem-based approaches, and some of the one of our own concepts, including low impact development, sustainable urban planning from the Australia, and some others as well. Malaysia, I think you know what SMA. No, okay. MSMA is pretty much like 82 waters, but for Malaysia. So they are more like design guidelines for such kind of things for Malaysia. I think it's in Bahasa, not in English. Okay, so now before we go into the studies, let's talk a little bit about the concepts. So the all concepts start with low impact development from the North America, including the United States and Canada. However, they're also used in global south in Brazil from the study of Marcelo, that he is looking at the benefits of these nature-based solutions and was able to reduce the peak flow. So for those of you that are not familiar with the modeling, it's very straightforward that this is a mass balance that you have the same amount of precipitation, you introduce a pervious, then it will act as a sponge. So if you store a bit of your salt water before it enters into your drainage system, so that is how it works. And a critical amount of volume retained and significant flow generation hydrologically, that is the process. Then the UK also come with their own term for sustainable urban drainage system. Unsurprisingly, that is something, but they just try to brand it with sustainable urban drainage system. And the Australia term used is water sensitive urban design. So what I want you to pay attention here is the years. So here is 1977. People already talk about this concept in North America. Now the concept moving south being applied in Malaysia, and sustainable urban system in the south, again very early in 2000. It's like 2 decades already. So this is not something rocket science that I'm talking about. These have a legacy, these have a history. And what was the urban drainage used in Australia was used in 1992. Now let's talk about the new ways. That's what we are here about is the nature-based solutions. So by definition, the nature-based solutions is activity to protect, sustainably manage and restore natural and modified ecosystems in ways that effectively and effectively solve social concerns, providing both human welfare and biodiversity benefits. So by the look of it, only English speaking, it's broader. It's not only on the urban water management, but it brings in the human dimensions. It brings in the ecological dimension, and more importantly, it brings in the ecosystem services dimensions into the discussions. Now let's scale down a little bit into particularly urban water management, then again bring 5 common values. Enhance water availability, improve water quality, and reduce water related risk. So again, very strong connection in the terms that I presented earlier. Think about this one, transitioning from concrete-free infrastructure to blue and green infrastructure, etc. Are some of the notable work that mentioned in the NBS. So showing on the diagram over here are some of the related ecosystem services in water. So you see that we have flood mitigation. We also have water quality, but at the same time we have biodiversity. So think about it. So when you put a rain gun, let's say in the water and rain gun, sorry, in area, not only we can deal with the excessive amount of rainfall water, but we can also increase the biodiversity because the insects will come over, the birds will come over. So those are the benefits that are not exclusively mentioned or monitored or studied when we think about urban drainage, because the term implies is urban drainage. So it is still to drain the urban water. It is not really to find an overall solutions. So I think that is an evolution that I personally think that even though we have a very established concept, many solutions are still very needed to again revisit and solve and explore opportunities. So then again, within nature-based solutions, we have another discipline called ecosystem-based adaptation. If you read the literature review, these two are quite similar. Actually, ecosystem-based adaptation, EBA, can be put as a subset of solution. So what's the difference here? As the term suggest, it is an adaptation. So to the extent you put the approach is even more adaptive. So you don't look forward to solve the problem comprehensively or decisively. You can accept a certain amount of risk, but you have to adapt to it. So that's why I call ecosystem-based adaptation. But psychologically, it's also based on natural-based and ecosystem-based approaches. So I want to spend a couple of minutes here. For ecosystem-based adaptations by IUCN, it brings in structural dimensions, but at the same time, it also brings in the political dimension. So in order for EDA to be successful, it is strongly recommended that you should put the adaptation within a larger policy. So why is that? Because when you put the adaptation approaches, policies into an existing policy, it is more facilitated to get it approved and push it ahead. I wish I would do a little bit more on my existing work in AFB, but so again, this is an evolution of the paradigm. Before, I feel a strong connection with engineering, where I mentioned about urban drainage. But here is a very biodiversity and ecological multidisciplinary approaches that are coming up with EBS, NBS, and EBA. So then we also have the response city concept. So I mentioned before that the concept is the same, but they put it very nicely that the force that can absorb the water and it's similar to RNEs, food and food. So reducing our surface, capturing, purifying, and providing additional ecological advantages, etc. So the notable literatures here are 4 in China, in Thailand, and in Brazil, but considering the time, I will only focus on the one in Thailand and the one in Brazil. Part of it was to have a good geographical coverage. So the work done by Dr. Hojinovic, actually, he's quite a well-known person. So he's a very established scientist on food, actually not on NBS, but on food in near to Nigeria. So he's working extensively in urban population. So what he did is he took a case study in Ayutthaya, an old city of Thailand. So this area, as you can see here, used to be a heritage site. It is now still a heritage site. And from a heritage point of view, Ayutthaya is like a retention pond for Bangkok. So every year, this particular area will get to the flooding. It's like don't big. Like you'll get flooded, for Bangkok, we will get it. So then he developed three scenarios where he explored combination of natural solutions and non-corporate infrastructures. Now, this is another advantage of natural solutions that we should think about is we can easily combine it with the trade infrastructures. And this is really a new emerging way of thinking. So for the conventional approach, when you have a smaller pipe, you don't have enough capacity. What do you do? You remove the pipe and put a bigger pipe in, right? So it's very exclusive replacement. But for natural solution, we can really think of as a retrofitting approach. Where we have a system, now the system got overwhelmed, we can implement the NBS to compensate on the missing of the capacity. Moving on to this study by Matsuro in 2019. Actually, this is my favorite study, and this is also one thing that I think we are pushing forward. It is conducting a very extensively physical-based study to look at the performance of the NBS. So these are some of the findings. So runoff retention efficiency, interestingly, changing from 9% to 100%. It means that it is still very arbitrary. It means it's still left unknown. It depends on the design of the NBS. For example, how thick the layers of soil can be, how you design the drains, etc. So it has not been properly guided yet. That's why we have a very large scale of difference. And then high efficiency during the dry period, low efficiency during the wet period, etc. So we conducted a very extensive physical study, set out of small scale, lab scale, just to explore the performance of NBS related to capturing the runoff. Actually, I really think that we need more of these studies for Southeast Asia to test out the different climatic conditions. Because at this point, most of these are coming from the north, with very different climatic conditions, different precipitations, different soil. So I think the evidence of the indigenous, the local conditions are really lacking. So with that, I will share a little bit again, like emphasize that it is money coming very humbly from my thinking. Okay, now the answer. This is the Frendo. This is how he draw our world. This is how we are generated. Very interesting line, right? I don't know what the rationale behind it, but this is how the north and south are divided. So what I see is we need to take extra mile. So the mile is not, it's not a mile, but the mile is more of inclusivity and less of exclusivity. Usually, I come from Thailand, so most of the funding that I got was from development bank. So it's a north-south kind of flow. So for example, physical resources can be shared, financial resources can be shared, and everything within, because you see the curve I developed from the north, and now it flows from south for that one way. However, what I've been doing now is a south-south kind of thinking is that, okay, let's test the concept in multiple comparable contexts and how we can learn from each other. So for example, I'm conducting research across India, Thailand, and Vietnam, and then we actively organize events and to share, let's say, and then try to make it quite different. For example, in Vietnam, I try to focus on the coastal area. My colleagues in Thailand, we focus on a very large wetland. And then in India is for wetland, for catchment reservation project. So instead of having to conduct a strict study, we conduct very different studies and share experience from each other. So that is a South-South approach. Capacity building can also be done and group practice to share. And more importantly, I think the North-South cannot be helpful here in policy advocacy. Because the settings of political conditions are more or less very different from the North and South. So the South-South has more to say rather than the North-South. So now my question here is, how about South? Is there something that the South can offer to the North? So this is something that I think we really need to explore. That if there is something that, for example, you have a new sensor, you have a new technologies, and then you want to test out. I think this is where the South can help the North to test out in different conditions. I can put one example within. So she's showing very nice sensors in the lab, measuring in the water, they're measuring. So I'm coming to South. So the question I ask me, there's no fish. There's no fish. There's no fish in a lot of bubbles. Because when we deploy such sensors in the field, let's say in the Mekong River in Thailand, you should expect fish, no? They should swim around and try to offset your sensor. So what to do with it? So this is something that I think the South can also be relevant in the equation of South North or South or even South North. And again, the natural solution provide a very, excellent conditions where the South and North stakeholder can actually very, very closely through this diagram on the right side. So it is about co-definition of knowledge. There will be co-implementation of measures and to be co-monitoring of the performance, and then can be shared with each other. So I'll repeat. I think this is an extra mile that hopefully would be able to take together. So this is how it can be done. So this is one of my project with Dr. David. I think we will find a show there during the World Water Week. So we invited for Dr. Sona from MRC. So we have a good coverage and also around. So he's the one who did the study in Malaysia. So you see, we have a good combination of South, North, and then also the scientists, the division method, and also the NGO. So this is how things can be done. This is called project approach for scaling. So whenever we think of scaling, we think of scale, upscale, downscale. But this is the way I think that we can also do scaling horizontally. So how can we do horizontally? It's like we think about like mind and then try to co-learning, like peer-to-peer. When you think about upscaling, you think about different levels. Up to the down, for example, you try to push the knowledge from the ground level. You create some policy relevance for the policies. That is how you do the vertical scaling. But if you have a good team, if you have a good combination of like-minded people, you can actually also do and horizontal sharing, and this is how the North-South and the South-South can be arranged. My next direction is key performance indicators. So why this is all come about? The first one is one of the textbook diagram. You see the blue one is, sorry, let's start with the red one first. The red one is the hydrograph, where you have very nice natural catchment and then, the graph can be very mild. But after urbanization, you will have more impervious. So the carbon concentration will be reduced and then you will have a higher flood. And what we are trying to do is we try to control from detection rating for flood and from reservoir. So very straightforward, you can estimate the performance of the basin by the peak being touched. Now the question is, should we use the same performance indicator for natural solutions? Should we? Yes, I don't think we should actually, but so far all the literature is that it's not established in performance indicator yet for natural solutions. So we have to think outside the box. Are we being fair? We cannot be fair for a long time. So now we are doing a part of the solution, so we can think critically and then also creatively on how we can integrate all of these benefits to make a more reasonable, justifiable, scientifically based sound for the key performance indicators for the NBS project. One example is you can use this diagram. So I think this is the root of the NBS solution is that it's never been a multi-objective function. It's never been a single objective function. It has always been a multiple objective function. So that's why single key performance indicator will not work. But you should have multiple performance indicators that we show in this diagram over here. So different scenarios will give you different performance in different aspects. And now, where we should go about? What is our priority? Should we want to cut down the risk of flood discipline, or we accept a little bit more flood, but your people will have more air quality, more well-being, etc. So it is a very comprehensive key performance indicator development framework that I think is worth exploring. Next up, physical evidence. As I say in the very beginning, that we need more physical evidence. And I really like the work of Dr. Macedo in Brazil, where he conducted a very fundamental study of measuring the performance of an NBS. So on the left side here is my daily work in hydraulics lab. So everyone knows hydraulics, right? Hydraulics is a very assembly science. So the way you set up the experiments are very known. So people just follow. And again, key performance indicators are also very well educated. You can just measure. So we should have something like that for the nature resolution on top of the numerical, which we and Dr. Perrin have been exploring numerical using the numerical model to explore the performance of the nature resolutions. And let me play this video. Okay. Okay. So this video on the right is showing the salinity from the coastline. And this has been done by computational fluid dynamics. So you see here, there is a phase of saline water, which is red, that is pushed back to the inland. Why would you say, when you think about nature-based solutions, we should do something like this? Because nature-based solutions can offer water-related benefits. So it is not only water, but it is also pollutants, it is also nutrients that is entering. So we really need a 3D computational fluid dynamics model to understand. Nowadays, if you think about the report, you think it's a nature-based solution, because that's the way I say it, right? You think it makes sense. It will improve, don't worry, it will improve, but how is the process and it will improve is still under study. And I think we really need this kind of tool to understand and then establish a knowledge base for nature-based solutions. So physical evidence are missing and should be supported. Okay, moving on to part 4. How am I doing with the time? So, okay. So for the ongoing works, there will be 2 parts. The first one is I would like to share a preliminary study of how I think a pilot scale NBS can be conducted. So we try to develop an NBS showcase in AFP, our campus. So the contribution is we hope that the physical model can try to help the education students and showcase the benefits of NBS to a large audience. So the type of NBS that we are exploring is viral detection system. And the method we're using is multi-criteria decision analysis. Numerical modeling of this will. Yes, I think it's doing so you can and a final resilience tool. Okay, so how does it come about? So first of all, we do some science investigation, then we develop the NCA. The NCA is basically come up with the criteria that you think you would use to evaluate your NBS. Just to put it in a very simple way, when you go out and try to decide which iPhone to buy, is it iPhone Pro, is it iPhone Pro normal, which color? So you put these criteria into perspective: price, camera, what else? Screen size, and resolution. So all of these will help you to make decisions effectively. And then we try to design a physical model and doing the numerical modeling. By the way, this is a screenshot of the entire that we use it. And finally, we try to have a campus-wide design, try to pinpoint where we should put NBS at what time. And the vision is to have something in the future, hopefully, something like Fintech Park. You have been to Fintech Park. It's on Jalan Bahar, it's in Newry, so they have very nice NBS integrated building over there. I was there for 2 years. Anyway, so a lot of data collection is being done. So again, understanding technology is important. So when we want to justify the performance of NBS, I ask my students, but by the way, this is the work of my students. So I'm presenting on 50 now. The just one over here and over here. It's doing the soil sampling and soil water collection. So when you think about it, the term NBS is what? Solution. So you need to think about what kind of problem you're solving. So I asked him that you have to collect the water quality in the soil. We are not going to collect water from the canal. We have to collect the water from the soil because that is the source of water that the NBS is going to treat. However, when the soil sample, you have to get that from the field, because those are the soil that will be used to construct the NBS, and then there are high sensitive water quality and soil testing can be done. So on the top here that you can explore when you go there. So the NBS is evaluate following these criteria. So we look at soil property, we look at physical restrictions. So physical restrictions, it means that okay, if you want to view something, is there a tree passing by? Is there any limitations to the wall that stop you from constructing it? Careful sign, we do some cost estimation, cost of sustainability, some water quality, etc. And we propose 3 sites for evaluation. So this is the numerical modeling approach. We try to evaluate at the outflow what are the benefits of having an NBS in terms of storm runoff and also in terms of water quality. So this is the physics model of the entire campus. And these are the scenarios that we are testing. So by retention, then scenario 1, that we have number 3 group, and scenario 1, we have the permeable payments and the combination of all of the AYD. By the way, AYDs is for low impact development. It's from North America. And the reason why AYD is coming about is because physics world is a North American product. So that don't have AYD. Okay, and this is after just one, we use this tool, USD tool, to see where we can actually implement the NBS. So there are motivations in terms of geographical coverage. So you can do the CRT tool or the entire city. Of course, you have to make do with the certain thing now. So, but basically, we have no limitation of coverage. So we can. So what they will do, they will tell you that storage capacity, the transpiration, heat reduction, and that's how we use that NBS to play around. So you just activate it and do some design. And these are some of the results that I won't spend too much time with. Okay, so after we put everything together, so you see the technical part, we have the physical, we have the technical side, and after putting everything together, we decided that track 1 is the most appropriate one. So the experience here is when you design a NBS project, you should list down the criteria and how to come around with criteria. The first source information is from the south, sorry, from the north or from your south here. For example, in Malaysia, in Singapore, for agency projects, in Malaysia, for MSA, you can refer to it and design a multi-criteria decision-making problem. And we try to design also what a variation system looks like, so how thick on each of the layers and what is the shape and etc. We will not spend too much time here. And these are the most interesting part. This is the result from the neuromodeling. So you see the red side is without the NBS, and the blue is with NBS. So what can we conclude here? We see that the improvement in terms of total flow, meaning the runoff, is not that significant. However, in terms of sustained solid, COD, TN, and PP are quite substantial. And they're keeping in mind that this is only 1 unit. It can be improved if we have more units. So what does it mean over here? It means that It means that for the flood and for the storm, actually, in terms of water quantity, the NBS should be seen as a reinforcement rather than a replacement. But if you think about the water quality, it is actually helping. And it makes sense. It makes sense. Why? Because when water has enough time to substrate, to infiltrate into the soil, they have more time to be absorbed by the substrate, by the roots, by the soil itself. So the water quality improvement are quite substantial compared to the water quality. But again, this is also a design for AAT side. So this is some conclusion. For campus wide design, and the determination of LID for convex and from the flood, design provides a guideline for the policy of sustainable campus development plan. Just to share with you, AAT now is conducting this sustainable campus development plan where we try to introduce sustainability into our management of campus, and this project has been streamlined. Hopefully, we can look for companies to actually have something like in here for the in the future. Hopefully, we can next time we can have something to show you. It has been streamlined. Okay, coming back to the mainstream of the presentation, these are some of the projects at AIT. So at this point, I would like you to open your thinking process. And up to this point, it has always been about urban water management, NBS and urban water management. But as we know from the definitions, NBS has more to offer, and this is something that is boring. That in the some of these NBS projects, I'm trying to explore NBS in different contexts. So first of all, is one project in ecosystem-based operations again, similarly for NBS. For sustainable groundwater resource management. So in this project, I am choosing two scenarios, one in Cambodia and one in Vietnam. You see very different geographical context. Again, I'm practicing the horizontal learning peer-to-peer. And next very different on Cambodia is next to the forest hub. So it's about inland hydrological interaction between the forest hub and the groundwater aquifer. Whereas on the right side is the polygon where we look at the salinity intrusion for Vietnam. So for the world factors, is first assessment of groundwater resources, development of nursing and mechanism for ecosystem-based adaptation, running some model, and finally communication and policy mainstreaming. Again, vertical scaling and horizontal scaling is the approach, and I probably present my collaborators here, and these are some of the preliminary results. We just started in May, so we will go to something. So just on the left side is the groundwater storage, that how it's changed in the aquifer throughout the year. So the blue, it means that it has positive, it means we have water, whereas the red one, it means the water has been drawn down significantly. So throughout the year, I will be producing this more. So these are the spatial temporal analysis of the area from 2003 to 2016. So you can see that a lot of water has been drawn down significantly because of agricultural expansion. So because they don't have enough surface water. So that's why they have to turn over to the groundwater through a lot of extraction. So that's why the groundwater has been significantly depleted in the area. And these are the problems where the EDA seek to approach. So we think about protection of physical recharge. We think about protection of groundwater dependent ecosystem, adaptation of soil vegetation coverage, protection of restoration of riparian zone. These are some of the of EDA that we are going to be dealing for the next step. So in the right side is the groundwater models that have been set up for two areas. This is another project with probably have Edward is yes. Yeah, just admit one. Okay, so this is regarding the regional food security under climate change impact. So here I'm exploring another angle of NBS in food security and climate change impact. We are mentioning NBS, and this one has been published by the Regional Pacific Network. It will run from October and September 2024. And there are more package also that inclusive of modeling, which we have a very here to help. And then also here, it's a bit small, but I would like to share with you is, okay, we look up to 3, is develop multi-criteria analysis framework. So one of the goals from this project is I want to develop a key performance indicator framework for index. So I want to see like how can we analyze the project comprehensively and quantitatively. And then the input looking forward is of course from the monitoring, but also from shorter dimension, from shorter survey, and then also from in-depth interview. So we try to develop a key performance indicator for NBS following this is a bit larger coverage. So we also have Cambodia and Vietnam and Thailand on top of local ground. So Alina, this is your playground. Okay, and I think with this, okay, I would like to quote one to wrap up. I would like to quote from World Economic Forum as major declines. The prospects of business success and future prosperity window. Conversely, the business opportunities of that way down, committed to restoring natural ecosystems and ecosystem services, could be considerable. So there are challenges, but at the same time, if we can see opportunities, I think we can try. So with this, I would like to thank you everyone for your listening. And